This is the Soulfilled Sisterhood podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole Burgess, licensed marriage and family therapist and an empowerment mentor for women. The information shared in this podcast is not a substitute, nor is it to convey professional, psychological, financial, or medical advice. If you could use such services, please seek them out from someone you trust. Now here is today's episode. Episode 127. If you are liking what you're hearing on the Soulfilled Sisterhood podcast, I encourage you to go out to iTunes and leave me either a star rating and/or go in there and put in an actual review itself. It helps with the algorithms, which then helps promote the podcast for other women to find it when they're searching in iTunes. Thank you again for your support. Now here is today's episode. Well, welcome, sisters. Oh, I'm so excited about this conversation that's coming up. My guest today is actually a returning one. I have Sarah Santacroce, and she was a guest in episode 42 where we spoke a lot about being an introvert and all the anxiety that comes around marketing. Well, since that episode, Sarah has been doing some big changes for businesses in general around marketing. She is on a mission to change the current marketing paradigm. 12 years of running a successful LinkedIn consulting business inspired a yearning in Sarah to create a global movement that encourages people to bring more empathy and kindness to business and marketing. And how could we not benefit from that, right? As a hippie turned business coach, Sarah hosts the Gentle Business Revolution podcast and works with heart-centered entrepreneurs to question their assumptions when it comes to marketing and gives them permission to market their business in their way, the gentle way. Sarah shares a fresh perspective and does not shy away from calling things out that no longer work for many of us when it comes from the current marketing model. Her clients sometimes refer to her as the female Seth Godin. Well, welcome back, Sarah.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm cringing and smiling at the same time here because that last phrase that the clients who refer to me as Seth Godin, that comes from you, as we know. And I still cringe every time I hear it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm really putting that out there.
Well, I do, just from knowing you now for at least the last few years, just the way the passion that comes through from you and what you're wanting so many of us heart-centered entrepreneurs to learn and understand is we really can do this a very different way. And I know Seth really talks about that too in all of his marketing books. Like, you don't need to be pushy and shovey when you actually market yourself. And that's really what you just remind me of, the way he presents himself and what he talks about.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I don't know if you kind of heard him talk about his latest book, and he talks all about empathy. I'm like, wow, that is so interesting. So yeah, definitely some aligned values, but
Yes.
Still it's a big thing to say that. So I'm always blaming you when I say it.
Well, I'll take the blame. It's all good. I get blamed for a lot of things from folks.
Okay, good.
And they're usually good things, so it's all okay. Well, I know you have been on a mission over this past year, all through 2020, and you ended up writing a book, and it's called The Gentle Marketing Revolution. And I would love for you to share with all of my ladies who are listening, like, why did you actually write this book?
Yeah. As you know, since you kind of follow this journey, it all started out with a recognition of, in fact, that there is so much anxiety in today's world, and anxiety, in general. I mean, just have to look at what's on the news and whatnot. But even before that, I started writing the book before the current events, and I came to this conclusion that marketing actually contributes to this high level of anxiety, and it all focuses on this division of, the ones who made it and the ones who are still struggling and are basically losers. And the way we have been doing marketing, we've been taught to do marketing in the last decade, emphasizes all of that so much. And being part of it, growing up in this online space, I felt like, you had to kind of keep up with it in a certain way. That's just how it was done if you were running an online business, until I had this epiphany and basically decided there's got to be another other way. And that's where I came to the conclusion that it is all about bringing more empathy and kindness to the business world. So that's really where I'm coming from. I'm like, it's time for a change. We can no longer do business in the way that we have been doing in the last 20 years, ever since the internet was born.
Yeah. And I know so much of your work with your coaching clients that you've worked with, right? You just got they're coming from a different space. I mean, it really is this, it's very heart-centered, it's very compassionate. And to do marketing in the way where there's a lot of fear that is involved and scarcity that's involved, really, yeah, I know went against kind of like what you're wanting for your people that you're working with. And like you're saying, like you've been in the marketing arena for, you said, over 12 years, basically, and you've watched it. And so it was even going against like your values, and you're recognizing that. So I love that epiphany you came to. You're just like, okay, there really is a different way. And I know you had said on one of your recent post videos that I was watching, like, you're like, I know what I'm saying is not necessarily new, but at the same time, it really needs to be heard compared to, I guess, what is kind of going out there. It's like what Seth talks about too, right? It's like, you're going to talk to the people who really need to hear that. And you're doing this on a massive scale. And I think it's a beautiful thing, but I'm curious for you, how has this journey been for you as you've really kind of made this pivot from just doing only the LinkedIn? And I know you still have the skills to do that, but like, you're really opening this up. How has that journey been for you so far?
Yes. So for the listeners, I've been focusing on 12 years, basically on building this LinkedIn consulting business with coaching and online products and memberships and et cetera. And so it was really all about adapting to a certain standard in this online business. And so this moment, really what the seed was planted after a breakdown where I was on a therapist's chair and just said, it is just so hard to be different and to feel like I don't belong in this online world. And yet I do want to have a business in this space. And so I always felt like I had to do marketing a certain way, because just like everybody, I wanted to be successful. And so we are being sold these certain things that are promising the success that we are so searching for. And, do this, and sell this template, and buy my webinar template, and you'll make $1 million. And don't even get me started on the 6-figure or 7-figure, email headlines. So we're constantly being sold this idea of success and what it takes to get to that success. And what I noticed over and over and over again for myself, but also with my coaching clients, is that it just doesn't feel good to do marketing the way we are told that's how it works. And so there was a misalignment. And so really that's the journey I had to go through, and coming to terms with this idea. Either I am not going to be able to continue in business. That's really what it was. I'm like, I can't do this anymore because it just doesn't feel good. And so I'm going to give up. Or I'm going to find another way. And probably even more than that, at the same time, I found my why. I was like, I'm going to find another way, and I'm going to share that there is another way. And I'm not going to share this is the way, because obviously that's not that's not the idea, because otherwise I would be, again, selling a cookie cutter approach. Hey, here's how it works. And this worked for me. So you'll make $1,000 as well, $1,000,000 as well. So that's not the idea, but it's really about, there is another way. There is a gentle way to do business and marketing. And, let me share that with my people who resonate with this idea of doing business in a more gentle way, without the hype, without the manipulation.
And one thing I want to point out too. So I know a lot of my listeners, they're highly sensitive. And I know you identify as a highly sensitive person as well. And yes, we're both introverts and all that fun stuff too. But I think one thing that you just hit on too was when you're sitting in that therapist chair and you were talking about, feeling like you, in a way, it's like either conform or don't have a business, right. And yet you're different. And yes. I think so many highly sensitive women, they know they're different, and it's been pointed out since early on, they're different. Sometimes not as a positive, other times it is a positive. And when you grapple with this, like, yeah, we really think and see the world differently, and everybody has their own perceptions and how they process stuff. But as deep feelers, deep thinkers, it's like you start to see like, oh, if I'm manipulating, if I'm, doing a cookie cutter approach, it's not actually going to fit for all my clients. And that is so key, I think, to highly sensitives. And I know you're not truly marketing only for highly sensitives, but it's recognizing there really are other ways to do this, and it can work. And knowing what your why is, knowing what your true definition of success is, which is everybody's got a different definition. And it's recognizing I want to have a business that actually earns money, because I do want to make money in it, and I want to make big changes in the world. It's a both and versus that either or, and it doesn't have to be the cookie cutter way. So I love that pairing.
I think you're so right about the highly sensitive approach. It's and that's why I think the word gentle, sometimes people are like, so what's with this word gentle? How does it fit in, in the business sense? And to me, that's kind of what I mean. It's like we are gentle in our approach. Like the reason I said it's so hard to be different is because I really felt like I'm not cut out for this business thing. I was like, I just want to be, I want to be nice. I want to help. I want to make a difference. And this whole, it's just business, there was no emotions attached. That didn't work for me. I'm like, but that's not me. I feel like even if every email I sent out, I'm like, is this manipulative? Is this really, how does it come over? Like, what is the person going to feel when they read it? And so that's why all these other approaches just didn't work for me anymore.
Well, and I think that kind of goes into, it's like, how is being gentler different? And you're naming it that it's raising a different level of consciousness. I think more than anything as a business owner, it's like, I can actually have emotions. I can actually have, I want to say, more forethought. And how is that person on the other end going to receive that email? Not like we can totally predict it, but it's like, if I put myself in their shoes, that would be the empathy. If I put myself in their shoes, how would I receive that?
Exactly.
And I think it's huge. It goes a long way, where it's like, I really do want to connect with my listeners. I really do want to connect with my email followers. I really do want to have both, that they can have a thriving business done in a way that supports them and helps them make the changes to the people that they want to work with.
Yeah. Another thing that just came up for me when you were talking was this discussion we had at another occasion, where you brought up this term gentle but fierce. And I've used it in the book, because it's so true that people misunderstand gentle sometimes. they misunderstand it as something that is too soft or too, she's nice, she's too nice. No, that's not at all what we're talking about. Like,
correct.
those people haven't met Nicole and Sarah, right? Yes, we're nice, but I think if we know our own worth and value and we have clear boundaries in place, then we can really be gentle and fierce at the same time, because we just stand our ground. We know what we want, and we know that we bring value. And so it can be both. Again, it's just both and.
Yeah. And I think, that the phrase, oh, you're gentle. I'll even say change the word from nice to kind, because I know a lot of women, at least that I work with, I call it the good girl mindset, right? Or the good girl mask. And it's like, well,
it's not that.
It's not. And gentle can also be old paradigm, old thought process. Is it passive? This is not at all being passive.
No. Yeah.
So it's being able to really stand for what you believe in and do it in a way that, again, aligns with your values, aligns with your message, and people who resonate with it will totally gravitate towards you. Those who don't, there's someone else who said, you'll repel them away. And I really like that. It's like, if it doesn't resonate for you, I want it to repel you. I want you to go find the person that you need to, or the persons or organization or whatever that fits for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. How has this shifted for you? I hear how it's kind of shifted, like what you're doing in your business. How has it helped you in your just personal life, in the sense of just like, my senses, like this deep breath of like, you've expanded in your personal life because you're doing something, one, that you really love and enjoy, but it's just this whole paradigm shift for you. How has that impacted your personal life?
The personal life, oh my God, I feel so much freer. Like, I feel like I really have come full circle with who I am, even in, my partnerships, with my husband, but also with my family. Like, part of this work is about, there's this buzzword, authentic marketing, right? To me, that's kind of become a buzzword, because so many people talk about authentic marketing. You got to be authentic, but it takes actually work to get to the authenticity. And that's what a lot of these marketers don't tell you. They basically tell you, being authentic is just, I don't know, showing up in your pajamas and that's your real you or something. And that's not it. It takes work to come full circle and really figure out who you are, what your values are, what your story is, what where your shadows are, what you've been hiding all these years, that you are now ready to bring forward and say, this is me. And I am no longer wanting to do these certain things because that doesn't belong to me. And, that's not aligned with my values. And so it really takes work to get there. And I think that work has paid off business-wise, because the right kind of clients resonate with me, because they can see that I am showing up just as who I am. And who doesn't like it, all right, go find someone else, right? And of course, also in personal relationships, like as an introvert, and I know your listeners are also mostly introverted, it takes us a long time to sometimes, open up with friends and things like that. And if there's something that you've been hiding for so many years, then that also applies to your personal friendships. Maybe there's one or two where, you're all open, but once you open up in your professional life about certain things, then of course you're also going to open up about those things in your personal friendships, and they get so much deeper. Like over the last 18 months, oh my gosh, I feel like there's people who hold space for me now because I have opened up to them as well. So I think that's really what this work has allowed me to do. And again, it seems far-fetched that marketing has to do with any of that, but that's really, so the book talks about the journey to gentle marketing, and I use the labyrinth as kind of a way to walk inwards into the labyrinth, find our center, and then in the center you receive the message that you are then supposed to bring back to the world. And so this whole work of going inwards is finding out about your true self and then bring more of you to your marketing. And so it really is, I kind of say it's personal development / very, down to earth kind of pragmatic business advice. And it's interesting that those two go together.
It is the both and it's funny, I'm smiling over here, and I know you can't see it because we don't have our videos turned on, but it's fascinating to just watch your journey through all of this as well. Because again, my training is as a clinical therapist, right? As a counselor. And that's all I've done over the last, 15, 16 years now. And as a coach, that's part of my job. I call it soul work. And you can't separate yourself from your relationships. You can't separate yourself from businesses. No. And unless you really know you keep doing that inner work like you're talking. And I love the image of the labyrinth as we continue to walk slowly through and let whatever needs to arise. Yeah, it does. It shifts everything. And so it's beautiful to see how you have evolved and how you're sharing that again with the world, with the heart-centered entrepreneurs, to know it's like you really can do it in a way that works for you and for those you really want to work with and who need to hear that and do the same or do whatever it is you're offering because they want to help change the world as well. One person at a time is my motto.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you also talked about the shadow work. And I know on episode 98, I had a conversation with another guest where we talk about, for Carl Jung, he talks quite a bit about shadow work, and it's the opportunities that await, the things that we want to hide or keep in the dark. It's like, those are the things that need to have the light shined on them so that we can truly grow. And to me, personal development is also the self-care, and it impacts every area of your life. So I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Help me understand just a little bit then, Sarah. I know we kind of bounced around on this idea, but what is really possible for the ladies who have their own business, or even those who are maybe working for a company that they're like, I really want to, talk with those in this organization about how we can do our marketing differently. What is really possible for business owners to do marketing in a gentler way? What's possible for them?
I think honestly, it's a lot about finding back to the joy of running your own business. One of the trigger phrases that I always pay attention to when clients come to me is that they say they hate marketing, especially introverts, right? It's like they love what they do. I'm sure there's a lot of your listeners who are coaches or other kind of service oriented business owners, and they're really good at what they do and they love it. And yet when it comes to market themselves, they're like, oh, it's just like, it's a must do, but it's just like, I hate it. And so what I really think is that if we do market in a way that feels good to us because it's aligned with our values and it's fun, and we only, we don't let ourselves be overwhelmed, for example, by all the things that we should be doing. And we just focus in and listen to our intuition and focus in on, maybe the one or two platforms that we feel like that this could be fun, to do YouTube. I talk about the marketing superpower. I know it's kind of a cliche, but it's really, when you do this work about finding out who you are and we go through a whole series of personal assessments and find out, we already know we're introverts and highly sensitive, but there's a whole bunch of other assessments that really help you understand what you actually like to do and what you're good at. So, for example, you might really be good at doing YouTube videos, and people feel like, oh, wow, she's really talking to me and it's engaging and all of that. Well, then that's what that's a good fit for you. On the other hand, maybe you hate that, and a podcast is a much better idea. So it's about really giving yourself permission to say no to all the shoulds that don't feel good, and picking your marketing superpower and just focusing in on that. So once you do what feels good and you're really going with this flow and enjoying it, and there's a lot of curiosity also that kind of drives you to discover these things because they feel joyful. Then I think people, they sense that you're showing up as your whole self. And so people really can feel that. And so that's where the resonance really happens with your ideal clients, where if you come to, your YouTube videos or whatever marketing channel it might be, and they can sense that you're just doing this to sell more, or because you're applying a certain, I can remember webinars I used to host, and then I had this template, and at the end you had to do this pitch spiel, it's like sell your product. Every time my voice changed, and people can tell, and so obviously it didn't work. I didn't make the $1 million that this template promised me, and so it was just about giving myself permission to not sell on webinars anymore, and still do them, but then invite people who were interested in having a one-on-one call with me, for example. So really, changing things up. Where you mentioned this word that I so resonate with, conforming. We don't need to conform. Already we're different, right? Already we're highly sensitive, maybe, or introverted. So already we're different. So let's use that difference and give ourselves permission to try different things. And the good news is, Nicole, is that we're really heading towards a society and heading towards an era where that difference is what people are going to be looking for. I talk about the conscious client, and the conscious client, like after what we've just went through in 2020, no more lies, no more manipulation. We're sick of it. And so we can smell it a mile away, right? And so people want the truth. They want transparency. They want vulnerability, but not in a way to, use it to sell more, but real transparency.
Well, it's transparency, but it's also knowing there's transformation, right? It's that, again, it goes back to that transformation. It's like, wow, you mean I can actually do it differently? And one thing I so admire from you from the get-go of getting to know you is you are so consistent with marketing actually can be fun. I'm like, that goes so against everything I've ever experienced and talked about, regarding marketing. It's like joy, marketing and joy. No, those two things don't go together. But that's one of the key things you really bring, I think, to the marketing aspect, and especially in this gentler way. It really can be fun. And you've hit it in the sense of when you really tap into your own soul, your own self, that higher part of you, it really can be fun. It does become easier. And there's still, I will admit, I still struggle with this at times. I'm like, is that what they want to hear? I don't know. Do I need to do this? I don't know. Well, here's what I really want to talk about, because here's what I keep hearing my clients say, right? And when you come from that place where everything feels very aligned, it's easier and there is more joy in it. And I love that you keep bringing it back to that, along with the curiosity, because it actually can be fun.
Yeah. And, to be completely honest, I need the reminder myself, because everything out there tells us the opposite.
Yes.
So right now, I'm hosting a Kickstarter to help me with getting the word out about the book and help me with the funding. And so that sounded like fun to me. It was something new that I had never done. It was about community more than about, here's my book and look at me, I'm so awesome. And so it was really about this community building. And then yet, when I was doing the research, these Kickstarters, like the majority are gamers who kind of come out with a video game or maybe books or some kind of creatives, right? And a lot of them are geeks, and they're also kind of driven by the hustle and you got to get as many as possible, maximizing, optimizing, and so I kept reading more of these articles. This is how you get more traffic, and this is how you get more and more and more. And I was feeling myself going, oh my God, it doesn't sound so much fun anymore. It sounds like it's exactly not what I wanted. And so I had to keep going back to giving myself permission to do it differently and to make it fun. And so I did it. I painted. I have in front of me, I have a painting I made where I wrote the Sanskrit word sukha in the middle, and sukha stands for joy and ease, basically. And so that's really what I envisioned about this Kickstarter campaign. But if we're not being mindful, then yes, we get drawn into the the message out there again, over and over again.
Absolutely. And when you also say joy and ease, it's not, so I want to be really clear on this too. I think there's also this misconception like, well, if I just want it to be easy, then I don't have to do anything. It's like, no.
No.
You still need to take those inspired action steps to get your message out there. But it, like you're saying, it can be done in a very different way. And I love how you have something visual in front of you to remind you of like, oh, that's right. You don't need to get sucked back into the old paradigm. I can do this very differently. I love it.
Right. Yeah.
All right. We've talked about some really great things on this episode. And I'm curious for you, is there one takeaway you would really love all the ladies who are listening that you really want them to take away from what we've talked about today?
I think it all starts with awareness and paying attention to whether in this new year, the marketing, the way you see it, the way you receive it, the newsletters you're subscribed to, the emails you're getting, all of that, whether that still works for you. Or whether you start to notice, false urgency and manipulation and cookie cutter approaches and all of that. And you're like, maybe I'm just going to hit the unsubscribe button and kind of, clear out and go Marie Kondo on your inbox. So it really starts with that, paying attention to what other people put out there, and then going, okay, well, how can I now implement what I know feels good to me into my marketing.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay. Well, Sarah, how do my lady listeners, how do they find you? I know you've got a free gift out there for them. Tell them, just share with them, how can they find you and what is the free gift that you have for them?
Yeah. So you can go over to my website, sarahsantacroce.com/one page. That's the number one page. That's the one-page marketing plan in the form of a mandala where I talk about the 7 P's of marketing, but kind of remodeled according to this idea of first, you got to work on your being, and then you implement the doing. So that's at sarahsantacroce.com/one page. And then I mentioned the book a couple of times. So that's coming with a gentle book launch during the Random Acts of Kindness Week in February 2021.
Beautiful. And ladies, I will have, of course, the link for Sarah's one page on the website in the show notes, along with her, where you can find like her Kickstarter for the book as well. That link will be there too. So all her information, all that stuff, you can go out to the show notes and get that information. And Sarah, I just want to say thank you so much. And one, sharing your message about, again, it's a big Yeah, it's a big mission, which I love, and how you want to help so many heart-centered entrepreneurs to shift how they even think about marketing, really embrace their introversion, embrace their highly sensitive, traits. And if you're an extrovert, yes, that works too. But it's all these things like I don't need to hustle, I don't need to push and shove. There really is a different way. And I just so appreciate what you're bringing to the world, the message that you've got. And yeah, that marketing really truly can be fun. So thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks so much for having me. As always, a great pleasure, Nicole. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you haven't already, I invite you to go out to iTunes and please leave an honest rating and review. In the podcast world, this really helps other women find the podcast and they can see if it resonates with others out there. So I really appreciate all your support and leaving me a rating.